Hi, BookTube, back on Jackie's Lyric Corner. I am Jackie, and a few days ago I did a video where I filmed the nonfiction books I want to read in 2025. Well, one of the projects I wanted to take on for 2025 was reading the books that I owned that were on the Rory Gilmore reading list. So I picked a handful of books. I tried to narrow it down again, but then I kept seeing books on the list I wanted to get to. There were some I was able to be like, either they're for another project that I wanted to, they were going to apply for another project, or I just didn't want to, it would be too much. Which, yeah, I could combine, but also there were a lot of options I was giving myself, so I didn't want to, so it was like either combine or do a separate list. Like Lord of the Rings, I wanted to do a Tolkien project where I read Tolkien's work, not just his work on Middle Earth, but also like the Father Christmas letters he wrote to his children. Earlier this year, and I bought this book that had the letters, a lot of other, like, all these letters that Tolkien wrote, so I don't know if that includes the Father Christmas letters or not. Since he's kind of playing these characters, because I hear that he creates more than one character from the letters, with the letters. Since that isn't supposed to be him, these letters are actually supposed to be, so maybe it doesn't include the Father Christmas letters. And then, of course, he's done a lot of things, like he did his own translated version of Beowulf and Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, so I would like to read those, and I remember actually liking those. I thought they were fun, very entertaining, and very, like, I had read them for the British literature class, and I enjoyed them. I told that to a customer at work, and they were very impressed. And then my mom pointed out that they probably thought I was like in my early 20s or in my teens, and that's why they were so surprised, because apparently people that age don't read the classics like that, or they only read them because they absolutely have to and they hate them. But anyway. So, I know he did his own translation of those. As of right now, I just have, like, Middle Earth stuff. And then the letters, of course. But I don't have the translations of those. So, I'm going to make that a separate project. And then, of course, there's the Stephen King project. And, there are, like, at least one book that I know of for sure that's on Rory's Gilmore's reading list, that is a Stephen King book, which is Christine. There are Cujo's on there too, but I'm still apprehensive about that one because I'm a dog person. I love dogs. I've always had dogs, and I'm very nervous to read that. It's supposed to scare you, of course. It's the goal, but I still would be really nervous about reading a book where a dog catches rabies and it really makes the dog crazy to the point of it becomes a monster. And then at one point, I think it is in the dog's point of view, and that would be just so hard to read. As a person who loves dogs, who's always had a dog growing up. So I maybe I'll one day read it. Maybe I'll get the courage to read it one day. Maybe I can get on my Kindles buying my own copy. I don't know, but anyway. So that one and Christine. I don't know if there's any other Stephen King books on there. Those are the only two I saw. But that, but I want to make that be part of my Stephen King project. Like I said, I know I could double up. I could, apply a book to both projects. But like I said, I kind of wanted to make separate lists for each one because I just can't make a decision. But anyway, all the ones I did grab that I'm going to show you guys are all classics, actually. So there might be a modern one. Actually, there is at least one modern book that I know of that's on there that I recently purchased. So let me show you the books, and I decided to make, hoping this had made it easy for me to narrow down, and it really didn't. I mean, it did a little bit, but not a lot. That I decided to go seasonally and pick books for each season. So, of course, so first we have for the rest of the winter season. So that's February, January, February, and partly March. Which the second one might be a March book. But this one is, I picked 2 books. And I think, yeah. So I have, possibly with the exception of Spring, all of them have 2 books. But Spring has, I picked 3 for Spring. I don't know why. I know it's an uneven number, so, of the books I grabbed. But first, I picked Les Miserables. I still don't know if I'm saying it right or not. I'm trying to say it with a bit of a French accent, or French, like, pronounce it like how you would say it in French. I need to, see if Emily Fox has ever referred to this book, whether she's read it or not. Maybe she said that she's wanting to read so that maybe I could hear how you say it in French. But I remember loving the musical, and I liked the movie with Jeffrey Rush and Liam Neeson. And I had read an abridged version at the time when I was, I preferred the musical because I didn't like the book was, like, too much for me. I was bored with it. But like I said, I read an abridged version, which, I don't know, that'd be, actually, now that I think about that one, it probably, because it's a shorter version, so you would think I would, that wouldn't necessarily be a reason why I would be bored with the book. But at the time I was. And now, actually, when I started reading it a few summers ago, I kind of liked it. I was very interested, and I liked reading the parts about the priest who, like, Valjean, well, let me explain. So, the plot of this is the first part of the plot is you have Jean Valjean, who stole a loaf of bread for his sister and her children, and he gets sent to prison. Well, he tried to escape multiple times, so he ends up in prison for several years, and finally he gets let out on parole, but he is not welcome anywhere because, he has a criminal record. And then he ends up, this abbey welcomed, because it's a church. So your church is always welcoming everybody. They're it's a very loving place that forgives everybody and welcomes everybody in. And he ends up stealing from them. But the priest, when the police come, because now, the people are looking for him, because he broke parole. I don't remember when he broke parole, but the police are looking for him, and the priest comes to his defense and is like, no, I gave this silver to him. And the priest says, and he tells, and once the police are gone and everything, he tells them that I'm going to grant you this forgiveness, but you have to earn that. You have to prove to me you deserve it. And it touches Jean Valjean, and he tries to change. That's when he breaks parole. Is that he ends up changing his identity, becomes a mayor of this French town, and tries to live his life, tries to do a lot of good deeds and help the people of this community, and he establishes a great reputation. And then he finds out one of his workers, this woman who got thrown out because she had a child, and the boss didn't like it. The manager, who was a pig, throws her out on the streets. She's forced to become a prostitute to make enough money to pay the people who are taking care of her child. And she ends up almost getting arrested because she defends herself against this guy who goes after her. And so Jean Valjean shows up and offers, to take her in, and she comes ill, and he promises to go find her daughter and pay the people who are raising her, and he ends up taking the daughter, and things go, but her mom dies, so he raises this woman's daughter and as his own child, and then the next part is during the French Revolution, and the daughter, who's now a young woman, meets one of the revolutionaries and falls in love with him. And Jean Valjean ends up getting involved in the revolution. I mean, not completely, but he gets involved a little bit. So sorry, that was like a really poor summary. I probably could have simplified it a little bit more, but I'm really bad at summarizing things. But as you can see, the book is a lot longer, and there is one of the complaints people have of this book is there is a chapter where Victor Hugo really dives deep into this French sewer system in detail. And it's kind of like how Hunchback of Notre Dame really dives deep into detail of putting a lot of importance on the city and the architecture of the city of Paris. So I think he's known for that. I don't know. I'm curious if he's written other books, or these are the two books, which he might have made a lot of money off of these. I don't know, but I mean, they're now classics, both Hunchback of Notre Dame and this one. I mean, and they've both been made into adaptations, different kinds of adaptations, multiple times. Now, I mean, in fact, Hunchback of Notre Dame has a musical, off-Broadway musical version of it, which I believe, from what I heard about the plot, is a lot closer to the book, unlike the Disney movie. Which the plot of Hunchback of Notre Dame is, I can understand why they would want to change the plot a little bit and kind of take out some of the elements that would not be appropriate for kids or a little too mature for children. But anyway, so like I said, I started reading this during the summer once when I bought it, and I actually really liked what I read so far. I enjoyed reading about the priest that grants him forgiveness and getting his backstory. Like, there's so much more in the book that isn't included in the stage show or in the movie. Either movie. So I want to pick this back up again. Part of me wonders if I should bring this. Part of me wonders if I should start this sooner than rather than because it's a long book. I don't know, because I'm kind of feeling more of a Asian kick right now, kind of like very much Asian focused with my literature. But part of me kind of wants to start this because this is a big boy. But yeah, so this is the first one. This is my first one for my winter reads. And then we have this one, which is a little bit shorter. This is a Russian classic, The Master of Margarita. I don't really know a lot about it. I did start reading this. I know that there's a giant talking cat, I believe, and there involves the devil on this end. It's one of those social criticism type books. Like, I think it's these guys making a deal with the devil or something. And it's a bit of a satire, so it's really funny, which I'm a little apprehensive about that because, I didn't like Confederacy of Dunces, and that was considered a satire. The character but that was also because the main character that we were with the whole time, whose head we were in the whole time reading that book, drove me nuts. I could not stand him. I mean, I think I could watch a movie adaptation based on that book, or a TV show even adaptation or something, or like a limited series. Although it's not that long, so it could probably just be one movie. Maybe I would have enjoyed it better in that format rather than reading the book and, being directly inside Ignatius's head. His name still stays in my... It's funny enough, I remember his name, but it also was kind of one of those first name, initial, and then the last name, which I don't remember the last name, but I think it was Irish. But yeah, he annoyed the crap out of me, and I just could not stand being in his head. I mean, I don't mind unlikable characters, but if you're in their head the whole time, then it can be really hard for me. Now, I don't remember if you were in the head of Scarlett O'Hara the whole time in Gone with the Wind, but I did. I liked her. I enjoyed her. Admired her. I admired her work ethic, her ambition. Yes, she was a mean, manipulative bitch and stole her sister's bow, and she was a spoiled brat. But I don't know. I just kind of liked. I didn't mind being in her head. I don't know. Maybe because I don't like laziness. That kind of annoys me. And Ignatius very lazy and self-centered, and it was all about him. Well, and at least Scarlett got shit done and did things. She didn't sit there and, she whined a little bit, but, I mean, she did whine, but she also made sure to get things done. She didn't just sit there. She solved her own problems, even if it were not the nicest way to do it. But anyway, so yeah, I don't know about satire, but I think this is considered a satire. But yeah, what I'm trying to do is there's a couple other Russian novels, including Brothers Karamazov, and I want to read that one before the end of the year as well. And that's why the other Dostoevsky book that's going to be towards the end of the year. I put that for the end of the year because, that's another Dostoevsky. So there is that. And like I said, I'm sorry I can't tell you a lot about it, except for the little bit I've heard. So yeah, I want to read this one. And so these are my 2 winter reads from Rory Gilmore's reading list. We have Les Mis, and I'm just going to pronounce how you say the title. Les Mis and Master and Margarita by Mikhail Bulgakov. I love saying Russian names when I actually know how you're supposed to say them. Okay, so then we have spring reads, this is the category where I pick 3 books. Okay, so first we have E.M. Forster's A Room with a View, which this was a earlier this year purchase. Sorry, my books just slipped off my lap. I keep falling. That the material they're made is very slippery. A Room with a View by Ian Forster. So I just finished Passage to India, so I figured I'd go ahead and jump into this. And I do want to look up other Forster books, see if what else he's written. Because I've only read 2 now. I've read Howard's End, which I did like. Not my favorite, but I did like it. I do want to give another a reread though. So Howard's End, and then Passage to India, which I really enjoyed. And now I want to read A Room with a View. And I don't know a lot about this, but it's 2 women. I guess this is this older woman and maybe her niece or her daughter. Well, it says just her chaperone. It doesn't say if they're related. But you have Lucy Honeychurch and her chaperone. They go to Italy. It takes place in the Edwardian times, and they're in Italy. And she finds a guy that is considered an unsuitable match. Okay, so apparently I guess she wants to be with this guy, this unsuitable match guy, George Emerson, but probably her chaperone and then her friend is trying to talk her out of it because she said marry someone more suitable. So yeah, it's one of those kinds of book where it's all marriage drama and everything. And, which I'm so glad I'm not a woman like that, of this time period. Because it would suck if, people are trying to force you to marry someone you don't love, but they're a more suitable match because they have the right qualities for us. Like, they're wealthy and, they're good looking and they have a good reputation, stuff like that. When I say good reputation, that doesn't necessarily mean a good person all the time. I think reputation could mean that they're an aristocrat, they're a part of the noble class. People supposedly like them even if they're an ass. People are charmed by them, stuff like that. But yeah, so simple plot, it sounds like just in one of those like dramas where someone, where our heroine is in love with someone that she shouldn't be in love with because he's not suitable, and everyone else is trying to tell her to marry someone that is suitable. But anyway, so yeah, this is one of my spring reads, and it's one of my shortest books here. Actually, probably like the shortest one. And then we have. So this was one of the ones I read for that British literature class, and the only reason I was kind of bitter against this one because I ended up not liking this one. I mean, or at least I was kind of angry about this one, that when we focused so much time on this one, that we barely spent any time on Hamlet. In fact, we didn't really even discuss Hamlet. We just were supposed to read it, and then it was going to be our last test for the semester. So I was going against this book, which is Canterbury Tales. But I will say I didn't hate it because some of these were kind of funny, were very entertaining once I understood what was going on, because it's of course very archaic English, so it's kind of hard to, and I still struggle with this poetry stuff because in understanding it, like my comprehension skills are not that good, and but once we talked about it, I actually kind of enjoyed it. Now, like as I say every time I talked about this book, if you're assigned this book for a class, don't skip the stories, because then your teacher might surprise you with a pop quiz. That's exactly what happened to me, because I was still kind of holding a grudge against having to read this book and spending so much time on this when I wanted to get to Hamlet and Gulliver's Travels. I was like, oh no, I'm not gonna even bother reading the story we're assigned, because like it's not like I have to know it all the time. Like I can just listen to this discussion and everything, and I mean, I'm glad we didn't have a discussion, because then I would have to. There's still a chance I couldn't. Would have to admit that I didn't read it at the time. But yeah, I mean, at least I could admit it secretly, like no one else knew I didn't read it. But I just want to give this another shot without the resenting feelings of there was something else I wanted to read and we didn't get to it because of this book. But in case you don't know, these group of people, knights and ladies and priests and poor people, a group of different people on different walks of life, with different professions, are making a trek to the village of Canterbury. And there is the guy who's leading the group presents them with a contest. And he says that, I want each of you to tell me a story, and whoever tells the best story will get, like, I can't remember what it was, if that person had to buy everybody drinks or something, or get money or whatever. But you have to tell a story on the way to Canterbury, on the way back. So there were supposed to be 2 stories for each person. Well, he never did. Chaucer never finished it. So we only get, I think, 1 story from each person. And yeah, that is kind of sad that Chaucer never finished it. But yeah, it's, you have the narrator telling, you starting with the narrator explaining what's going on and everything, and introducing this whole set of stories, and then each person that within the group is telling a story. And like I said, some of them actually sounded kind of fun and funny and snarky, and so yeah, I want to give this another shot. So yes, this will be this is my other spring read. And then we have the last one, which is a big one, a big boy, and that is Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes. This is a very famous story, a famous classic, because there has been a play, a musical specifically, Man of La Mancha, and everyone, of course, knows the whole windmill scene. But this is basically about this old guy who loves reading so much and gets into reading so many stories of, of epic love and adventures and everything, that, and heroes and knights and all that he ends up basically thinking himself like a character from one of his stories, and, goes a little nuts about it and starts doing all these crazy things. Dragging along his friends, Sancho Panza, who is making him his squire. And the dude is basically forced to go along with I'm trying to think of his name. Okay, it doesn't say his name on here, but anyway, gets dragged along for the ride, and it's supposed to be another really funny novel. It's divided into two parts. But yeah, so I wanted to read. This is my other book for spring. So those are the 3 books for spring. Now, like I said, the rest of them are 2 books. The other 2 seasons are both, Okay, so then we have the books I decided to focus on for summer. First we have, I want to get back to Moby Dick by Herman Melville. Which, again, in case you don't know what this plot is about, this is basically this young man ends up being part of a crew of a pirate who's trying to hunt this whale, this famous white whale, this huge-ass white whale that basically ate his leg, and now our pirate wants revenge on the whale. So he is hunting the whale, and our main character and his friend come along for the ride and join this crew. It's actually not a hard read. I think the only reason people don't love this and are intimidated by this book is that there's a lot of discussion on whaling, and it is a chunky book. I mean, it doesn't look that long of a read, but it's about... Okay. Not counting all the extra stuff. Let's see. Okay, that's the epilogue. Okay, so... Yeah, so it is in the 800 page mark, so it is a long one. But I think if you're prepared to hear a lot about whaling, then it might not be that bad. You might at least be able to get through it if you know what you're getting into. But if you're just not interested in whaling, then maybe it's not the book for you. But so far, from what I've read, it's very interesting. I mean, there are a couple chapters that, like, unless you're just into that, like whaling or something, or ships, then you're not in fishing and all that kind of stuff, then, well, so, anyway, I want to get back to it, and for some reason, because it's on the ocean and everything, it feels like a summer book to me. Okay, and then the second summer book I picked was a more recent purchase, which is not as long. Is another one that's not super long. I mean, it doesn't even get up to 500 pages. But this is Valley of the Dolls, the 50th anniversary edition by Jacqueline Suzanne. This is a feminist classic. It was published in the 60s, takes place in the 60s, I believe. It involves, we have 3 main characters who want to, who are very ambitious women. Anne, Neely, and Jennifer. It's set in New York, and they want to climb the entertainment corporate ladder, but then they're women, and there is a lot of. It's hard for you to hold on to your space when you're surrounded by men who don't take you seriously because you're a woman. Now I do know that because this was originally published in the 60s, and that there are some aspects of it that people will say are dated, but it's a classic for one, and I am interested in the plot, and I would love to read. I don't want to miss out on books if I'm actually genuinely interested, which I am, on books that are about important issues from the time periods. I mean, not all the issues, but like certain issues that are important to me, at least, that I want to know about, that I want to understand. But yeah, so I'm prepared to know that there are a lot of outdated ideas, and there's gonna be stuff in there that not everybody will, by today's standards, it doesn't necessarily appeal to everybody. But yeah, and this just feels like a summer read. I mean, it could also be a spring read too. Okay, so I just realized I'm gonna have to reach across to get my other two books, my last two books. So those are my summaries. So finally we have my oh wait, I forgot fall. So it's not I forgot about autumn. Okay, so this is my autumn reads, I should say. So first we have, so those first two books, Les Mis and Master Margarita, are for December, February, and January, February. Although I won't start them. I might start Les Mis, like I said. So we have Swans Away by Marcel Proust. There's actually a lot of other Proust relevant books that are on Rory's list. There are two others, I think, or a book about Proust on her list as well. But this is written in stream of consciousness, which I do struggle with reading. It can be very confusing and to get into and everything. So I definitely, I have to pick a moment, for now, right now as I'm filming, it's very quiet in the house, and I'm in my room, so I could probably read it now. I mean, I'm not going to, but this is the aesthetic and the setting that's probably perfect for me to read something like this. Although I'm wondering if I should do my standing up while reading it, because the moment I sit down and put my head on a nice, soft, cushiony area, then I'm going to start falling asleep. But this is a story about this young man telling about his encounter with this man, this family friend of theirs, this guy Swan, and he's talking about his childhood and Swan and everything, and Swan tells him the story of his relationship with this woman from his past. And it's part of a series of books, a series of volumes, In Search of Lost Time. But the other ones were not there. This is the only one I saw at the bookstore. And luckily it's the first book. Because sometimes with used bookstores, you often come across a book in the middle of the series, so you have to buy the other ones if you want to read it. I mean, that happened with me with Poldark, where I bought one of the books in the middle of the Poldark series, and I would have to get the other ones. So I decided to donate the book that I had, and then, maybe I'll consider the series in the future, or get off through books, or get off my Kindle or something. But anyway, the good news is this is the first book the first book of the 7 volumes. But I think this cover is so cool with this, mechanism design on the cover that's like a clock or something. And the blue and yellow or blue and gold coloring. I don't know. I just think this cover is really cool. So yeah, this will be my autumn. These are my autumn reads. And then we have the other Dostoevsky book, which is Demons. Um, this is the new translation, and I love this. I really like this cover, this simple design, this simple aesthetic. I always thought that was really cool. Um, and this one is actually inspired by true events, and um, and focused on a political murder that really horrified Russia. This takes place in 1869. And apparently Dostoevsky considered this a novel pamphlet, but everything that he believed in, all of his ideals and values, he wanted to talk about in this book. That, all the things that he saw were affecting Russia, his home. And when this was first published, it was considered the darkest novel until Brothers Karamazov. And I always found it was interesting that this was this is the original title, Demons, but it was retitled The Possessed originally, which was surprising to me. I don't know. I'm wondering why they changed the title to put The Possessed at the time when one of the times that this came out. But anyway, so these are my autumn reads. So those are the books that I'm going to be focusing on from Rory Gilmore's reading list. For some reason, there's been books that I thought were on the list that I thought I saw on their list, but maybe I saw them on another list, or it's because there were books that I feel like, oh, I want to get to those. And they're classic, so I assume Rory's probably read them, but I don't know why. Why I just don't know why I thought they were on there. But like Pilgrim's Progress, I thought that was on there, and I grabbed that one to show you guys, because I wanted to get to that one, but I will get to that one another time. And then also Brothers Karamazov, but with that one it could be just because I assume that was on there because the other Dostoevsky books that were on there, Demons, and there's another one on there, which I think is one I've already read. But that might be why, because those were Crime and Punishment. Crime and Punishment was the other Dostoevsky book that was on there. So, and it's one of my favorites. I do want to reread that one. But maybe because those books were on there, I assumed that they were on Rory Gilmore's reading list. But anyway, so that is my those are the books this season for 2025 off the list that I want to read. I know I'm trying not to. I know I've said in the past I don't want to do TBRs, but let's face it, I actually kind of enjoy doing TBRs. Someone did suggest in another video, there's commenting on their video, suggest I do one of those, like, pick a book from, like, put the titles in, like, a little jar or something, and then pick out of there. I think I did try that once. It ended up not going anywhere with that. Like, I think I tried it once, and, I almost did it, but then it just didn't go anywhere. I mean, to be polite, I did say, and I didn't want to sound whiny, so I said, oh, that sounds like a good idea. And maybe I'll still, there's a chance I might do it. I might still do it, but, yeah, I didn't want to be like, oh, but I already tried that, it's too hard, because it's not hard, it's just more like, I think I did it once and it didn't stick. Like, I tried it one time and And I don't know, maybe there is a bit of laziness where I don't want to write all the names, all the titles, and put them all, and, it's just me being lazy also. But anyway, so again, I ask, are you guys familiar with the Rory Gilmore reading list? Have you read any books on the list? If you are familiar with it, it's kind of fun. Like, it's kind of a fun challenge to see how many of the books that Rory supposedly read. Finding out, like, if you've read any of them, and which ones on the list are you actually interested in reading. Also, I would be curious if ever given the chance to talk to, Alexis Bledel, who played Rory, to talk to her not only about the character, but also I'd love to ask her if she's read any of the books on the list. And which ones would she think would be Rory's favorite books? Because it's not like she talks about them on the show as that often. I mean, sometimes she does. Like, I know she's talked to, when she was Jess Mariano, who's one of her boyfriends, he was a reader too, and I know she's talked to him about books. I think she's talked to Dean about books once. Like both times she tried to get both guys to read her books. Well, in the case of Jess, he's a reader too. Well, Dean not so much. Although I think in season 1 it was implied that he tried to get into reading, but he wasn't like a hardcore reader. But I know Jess was definitely a reader, and that's one of the things why people like them together, I think, because that was one of the things they had in common, and they were kind of cute together when they were together, but that is not enough to make up for the toxicity of that relationship, how messy it was, and how complicated, and how just wasn't mature enough. And then, as other people say, it's funny because now she was the immature one, and then he's more mature. Like, it's kind of... But anyway, yeah, so I remember they traded books. He asked her to read, I think, Hemingway, and he asked her to read something. I don't remember what. It might have been the other way around. I don't know, but no, I think it was he was trying to get her to read Hemingway. But like me, Rory's not a fan of Hemingway. I mean, I don't know if she actually she probably did like the book that he tried to get her to read. And some of Hemingway stuff I heard is good. And I have only tried one book, but I'm just not interested in Hemingway. I don't care for his writing style, and But anyway, we're not enough about Hemingway. I'm not gonna read it, so I don't know if I'll ever get around to Hemingway, and I don't want people to try to convince me otherwise. I will decide if I want to give Hemingway another chance or not. Anyway, we're not talking about that. Sorry, got off on a tangent. But anyway, like I said, have any of you are familiar with the Rory Gilmore reading list? Have you read any books? If you are familiar, like I said, it's kind of fun to see which one of the books on the list that you read, and also see which ones on the list that you are actually interested in reading. If you are interested in the list, you can Google search the Rory Gilmore reading list. You can just the list, or you can, the Rory Gilmore reading list challenge. You can also type that in the search if you're interested. So if you guys like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, click subscribe if you haven't already, click the bell notification below if you want to be notified about my latest videos. I hope you are enjoying your reading, and like I said, I would love to know what you are currently reading in the last month of the year. Are you reading any Christmas books, or you're just reading whatever you want to read? And I will talk to y'all later. All right, bye!